Hey everyone, welcome back to the 815 Sports Podcast. Jake and I are finally here to do a playoff episode. I know we haven't been on the past couple of weeks. Um, Sadly enough, we didn't get to talk about Jake's Dolphins. But my team still in the playoffs. We got Jordan Love. The team's cooking. We're hot. We got nothing to lose. We'll get to them in a few minutes. But first off, I'll let Jake talk about the Dolphins season if he wants to say anything about it, if he thinks there was any positive takeaways, what he's looking forward to next year, and just kind of his thoughts on the season. Jake, you want to take it away?
I don't think there was many positives. I mean, you could maybe say that Divine A-Chain was a positive. You know, he's going to be coming back next year. Tyreek Hill was Tyreek Hill. Jalen Waddle was kind of banged up all season. He was never healthy. He was hurt, played. This team could never get healthy. And I know that's not an excuse, but to a point, I mean, you can only deal with so many injuries before you're putting practice squad players on the, or you're going and signing players that haven't played in a couple of years. I mean, the last game of the season was Buffalo. The Dolphins had 7 defensive starters out. I mean, that's half of the defense. I mean, so now you're putting in players who didn't have all year to practice with the team, who's not in the same rhythm that the other. I mean, it's just hard, but that's not. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you can say it's an excuse, but I mean, they're a totally different team if you don't lose Jalen Phillips, if you don't lose Bradley Chubb, Xavier Howard. Everybody was just banged up all year. In the season, just you could just feel it go down when they lost to Tennessee. Right, that was the start. And then I think they went on the road and they might have beat Washington, and then they might have beat the Jets, or I don't know when those games are played, but you could just feel that momentum start to like downward spiral, like the offense started not clicking like it was. Now I don't know if that's because teams found out what they were doing or what, but then who'd they lose to? They lost to, well, they beat Dallas, but then they lost to Baltimore, then they lost to Buffalo. And I mean, Jesus, you go from 13. What was their record? They were like 11-3, and like they're the 1 seed to like the 6 seed. Like if there was another week in the season, I think they might have missed the playoffs because they probably would have lost another game. I mean, they just were. The season was ready to end.
So,
right?
question, yeah,
I mean, Dallas was a surprise. That was a good game.
yeah. When Dallas might have been fraudulent,
but Dallas might have been the same team as Miami. But I don't know. I mean, those are 2 teams that had 12 wins. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, what more do you want? I mean, sure you want to be 14-3, but I mean, how many teams this year have 3 or 4 losses still in the playoffs? Every team, right? Every team has 3 or 4 losses that are in the playoff. How many the Packers got?
8.
I mean, that's what I'm telling you.
The Bucs have 8.
I mean, like the Dolphins had 5 or 6. Like,
I think the Texans had 7.
So like
Lions had 6.
I mean, what like? I don't understand. Like Dolphin fan, and I tell you what, Dolphins Twitter is losing its fucking mind right now. No one's happy. No one wants Tua. Everyone's kind of giving up.
Do you really want Tua? I mean, do you honestly think Tua is going to get you a Super Bowl?
I mean, I think he can. I mean, do you think Jordan Love can?
Oh yeah, I think Jordan Love is exceptionally better than Tua Tagovailoa.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Tua just threw for 4. Tua just broke Dan Marino's single season record. I mean, and say what you want, he's got Tyreek Hill, but you still got to throw the ball.
Well, I'm not saying nothing about Tyreek Hill. I think he should be doing much better with Tyreek Hill. But with that being said, I also watched a video on Twitter the other day of like a bunch of videos over the season of Tyreek Hill and his drops. And if you look back, Tyreek had some drops in pretty significant moments that could have altered the game had he made the catch.
Major drops.
Philly was one of them where he had 2 big drops. One of them was a touchdown.
Well, there was one. It wasn't Philly. Was it Baltimore? There was a.
He dropped one against Baltimore in the end zone.
Oh my God!
That was like at the beginning of the game.
You just don't know if you catch those.
Yeah.
So look, I don't know if Tua's gonna. If obviously Tua's not that guy that's gonna wow you on his feet, but I mean it's hard to argue his record in the NFL as a National Football League starter. It's hard to argue his record. So if Tua's better than 20 of the 32 quarterbacks in the league, with Tyreek Hill makes him probably better than 4 or 5 of the other ones. So now he's like the 7th or 8th best quarterback in the league. I'm gonna take that every year. What are you gonna do?
No,
You're gonna get Mahomes from the Chiefs?
no.
Are you gonna get Lamar Jackson? Are you gonna draft Caleb Williams? No, we don't have the first. So what do you do?
I get keep going with Tua, but do you really want to pay him $50 million for the next 4 years and suck up that cap space? Because Tyreek's already taken up $30 million in cap space a year.
I mean, Tua's been in the league for
4 years.
His 4th year.
Yeah. Next year will be fifth.
They are over 500 in all 4 years. They have made the playoffs in 2 of the 4 years, and if you remember, the 1 year they were 10-6 and missed the playoffs.
Yeah, that was before they had added the 7th seed, right?
That's pretty good. It's more wins than losses. I don't know why fans have all of a sudden given up on him. I think. Why do you think? I don't know. I haven't lost as much faith as other guys have.
Maybe it's not Tua. Maybe there's always more things that go into it than just the quarterback, right? But when you look at like the performance on Saturday night last week from the Dolphins, it just didn't seem like it was that great of a team performance.
But I mean, did the Chiefs really look that good either?
No, and I don't think the Chiefs looked that good. I thought that the Dolphins had a hell of a shot to win this game because the Chiefs have not looked like the Chiefs of old, and I think the Bills have a very good chance of beating the Chiefs this weekend.
I think the Bills will win. I think the Bills. I think that's what the league wanted, and I think that's what they're going to get. But I think you ride with Tua. I mean, I don't know if Tua is your answer 5 years from now, but who the hell can predict 5 years from now? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, is he the answer next year? If you're telling me you're going to bring back A-Chain, Mostert, who was out 3 weeks, led the league in touchdowns, right? Was out 3 weeks. You bring back A-Chain, Mostert, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Tua. Yeah, I'll take that 5 over most teams in the league.
Oh, I agree.
I mean, you give me you give me those 5 in a game in Miami. Yeah,
I think obviously being in Miami would have helped the Dolphins a lot, but I think after the Dolphins dominated the Jets in that like Black Friday game, I mean, and then the injuries from there just went. And once all those key players for the defense started going out, I think that's kind of when I wouldn't say that you lost hope for the season, but you kind of felt like, well, this isn't going to be our year.
And that Tennessee game where they were up 14 points with 3 minutes and 47 seconds left. I mean, is that really? I mean, that's not really essentially all on Tua, right? I mean, you're up 14 points. Sure, can the offense get a couple first downs and win the game? Sure, but the defense can also stop them and not, you know what I mean? So, like, it goes both ways, but I get it. The quarterback always gets blamed. It's always on the quarterback. He's that guy. He's got to be that guy.
Yeah.
But, no, I don't. I think they're an 11 or 12 win team again next year. I mean, I've looked at their schedule. It's not the gauntlet that a lot of people think.
We actually play each other next year.
I don't know where that game's going to be played at. I know it's probably going to be early in the season, so that's good because there's no chance it's in Miami. It's either in Brazil or Green Bay. So that means it's going to be probably pretty nice, so we might be able to go to it.
If it's in Brazil, I will not make an appearance at that game.
No, I've heard bad things about Brazil.
I'm not leaving the country to go to Brazil. But anyways, we'll get into the playoffs this weekend. So the first game we got Saturday afternoon, we got Texans at the Ravens. I'm done betting for the year until the Super Bowl starts. I haven't bet in 3 weeks, but if I was betting, I would take the Texans plus the 9.5 here. I think Stroud has been one of the better quarterbacks throughout the year, and especially the last couple weeks. He dominated against the Browns, who had a pretty good defense all year, if you look at the statistics. I think as far as the Ravens go, they're at home. Lamar has choked a couple times in the playoffs so far in his career. This is probably the best team he's had, as he said, and Odell Beckham Jr. said that this is the best team he's been on. The Ravens are a complete team. the Texans are a team sort of like the Packers, playing with house money. They got nothing to lose. They got a decent amount of young guys on the roster they just drafted. But I tell you, I think Stroud's going to do enough to keep him in this game. I'm going to take the Ravens to win outright. But if I was picking just the line, I'd take the Texans plus 9.5.
I think the Ravens win too. I think this is the game that C.J. Stroud and the Texans. I think this is where their luck runs out. Baltimore at home is just really good, and that's why. Look, that's why these teams want to get home because I mean, I don't know why it matters so much, but I really don't. Like, it's a football field. There's not much different. I don't get it, but some teams just play well at home, and the Ravens do.
Yeah.
And I think they win. I don't know. I would almost think the Ravens cover. I think they're that good. I mean, if Vegas thinks they're 9.5-point dogs or favorites.
Well, they had the Texans as underdogs last week, and the Packers as underdogs last week, and both of those teams blew the shit out of the teams they played.
Believe it or not, most of the time Vegas is really close.
No, I agree. They are most of the time.
And I know different sports are different in spreads, and some are worse than the others. But as far as like football, and what I've really noticed is college basketball, Vegas is really, really good. But I think the Ravens. Look, Lamar Jackson is unbelievable. This is the type of quarterback I want the Dolphins to get. I don't give a shit about if you can throw the ball in a tight window. If you can't move and if you can't extend the play, you are limited. You limit the offense. And I know this is resorting back to the Dolphins. I get it. But that's because that's what I can do because that's what I watch. I want in the future, like years from now, like when the Dolphins decide to move on from Tua, I want a quarterback like Lamar, like Mahomes, like Josh Allen, even Jordan Love,
who can move a little bit.
He can extend the plays. He can run. And I don't know what happened to Tua because Tua could extend the play and run a little bit at Bama. Early on in his career in the NFL, he extended the play in a couple of games and juked guys out and was fast. I think the injuries, I think the concussions, I think they got to him, and I think it scares him. But
that would scare me too. I don't know. I wouldn't want to get that many concussions.
But you're going to tell me Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, you're going to tell me these guys don't take hits like that?
No, they take hits, but I would also say when you're talking about Josh Allen, Mahomes, and Lamar, Lamar is uber athletic, way more than all the other ones, but they're all a lot bigger in physical stature than Tua is.
Lamar's not much bigger. He's taller. He's
taller.
I think
way more athletic.
Bigger though. Tua is bigger than him, muscle wise. But to the Ravens, I want a quarterback that can do that, can extend the play.
Yeah.
Just because I mean, look at all the quarterbacks that are left, right? I mean, it's hard to argue that. I mean, is there a pure pocket passer left in the playoffs right now besides Brock Purdy?
Well, Goff doesn't really move. Now, I would say all of these quarterbacks are definitely talented. I would say they can be a pocket passer, but a lot of these guys do better when the play breaks down, which is something I don't think Tua has that some of these guys have shown the ability to do, such as Allen, such as Lamar, such as Stroud, such as Love. I wouldn't put Baker in that category, but he did a hell of a job against the Eagles on Monday night, and the Eagles looked pathetic. I don't know. They were getting blitzed the whole game, and they had nothing to show for it. They made no changes. They just got dominated.
More?
The Eagles.
The Eagles, the Dolphins, or the Cowboys?
The Eagles. To be 10-1 and then only win one game the rest of the year, that's a pretty pathetic collapse, if you ask me.
Is Nick Sirianni gone?
I don't know. I wouldn't fire him. I mean, he made the Super Bowl the year prior and nearly won the game. I'd keep him one more year, but I know how Philly fans are.
I agree. I think the Eagles collapse is a little bit worse than the Dolphins, just the way they looked.
Yeah.
When the Dolphins were losing, they were in these games. The Eagles just looked like a pile of shit.
Yeah.
So we both got the Ravens.
Yeah, and I think the Ravens have a really good defense that
their defense
is gonna play a large part in this game. But we'll move on. We both got the Ravens in this one. The Up next, the Packers-Niners, Saturday Night Football. Niners heavily favorited. I can't disagree with that, rightfully so. You got McCaffrey, you got Purdy, who's a pretty solid quarterback. Um, I'm still not 100% sold on him, but the guy's solid. Kittle, Ayuk, Samuel. They have a stud offensive line. They got a stud defensive line. They got good linebackers. In my opinion, one of the best, if not the best, head coach in the NFL, and Shanahan. The guy knows how to design plays. He's a genius. I can see why the Packers are not favored in this game, obviously on the road. But I think the Packers are playing with house money, as I've used the term a lot today. But they're hot. I don't know if there's been a team that's as hot as the Packers entering the playoffs. When you take a look at it, the Bills, yeah. But them and the Bills, the Packers the past couple of weeks, I want to say the last 5 weeks, have had to win every single week to keep their playoff hopes alive. You look at the Vikings game, you look at the Bears game, and then obviously last week, every game's been a must win for them. They've played well. Jordan Love, the progress, and I'll say it myself. There were times at the beginning of the year I was not sold. I thought, well, we're going to have to draft another quarterback. You guys can all look. I said it. But the way that he has progressed throughout the season has been insane.
That is why I try to tell people you can't judge a season after 7 or 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Because you can have a totally 360 just like the Green Bay Packers did, just like the Buffalo Bills did. I remember hearing people say the Buffalo Bills were dead. They wouldn't even make – now look at the motherfuckers.
The 2 seed and have won 6 in a row.
So, and I know, like, it came down to last year, and that's what you want. I want the seasons to come down to the last week of the season because it just means all the games up to that point, there was meaningful games. They weren't just garbage.
Mm-hmm.
So, look, this is a tall task. I almost feel like if the Packers make it to the Super Bowl, this is their hardest game, beating the San Francisco 49ers, because I think they match up a little bit better with
the Bucs and the Lions.
So
I think they could beat both of those teams.
Now, winning at Ford Field is gonna be brutal. Okay,
they have done it this year.
They've done it.
Well, I don't want to look ahead, though. I don't want to look ahead.
But what I'm saying is I think they match up better with those two teams if they can somehow get through the 49ers. That's why I said it's a tall task. Yeah. I mean, this team – look, this team tells Brock Purdy before the game, hey, we have probably the best offense in the league. Just don't make a mistake. You don't be the one to turn the ball over, and we will beat every team. I mean, he just can't make a mistake. He just has to get rid of the ball, throw it on time, and let them do it. I mean, he don't have to do much. He don't really have to extend plays. He don't have to run. He don't have to throw it 75 yards down the field because this team is so good.
They got guys you can drop at 5 yards, and he's gone. They got McCaffrey. You can hand it to in the backfield, and he's going to make a play.
And then their defense.
Their defense is disgusting.
If you get – I mean, they probably average – I bet you they average a takeaway a game.
Probably around there, I'm sure.
Or two.
I think when I look at this game, don't get me wrong, I think the 49ers have the better shot of winning. And obviously I want to pick the Packers. My brain, I'm going to pick the Niners.
Look, okay? I think you want to be the underdog in games.
No, I like being the underdog.
Because the Miami Dolphins were favorites the whole season.
Yeah.
And I told every fucking buddy, I said, when they lost to Tennessee, the collapse was on. Was I wrong?
No.
I mean, that was an epic collapse. So I would rather have nobody believe in the Dolphins. I want nobody to believe in the Dolphins next year. I want you to tell me they're going to win 3 games because when they win 12 again, I'm going to come back and be like, hey, that's what you want. I think you want to be underdogs.
Yeah. No, I agree because when you take a look at this,
and that's why I'm talking
who has
about
all the pressure in this game? Is it not the Niners? Because the Packers weren't even supposed to be here.
I think all the pressure is on the 49ers because they are 10-point favorites. They are at home.
They're the one seed.
They're what was their record? 13.
They're the Super Bowl favorite.
I mean, they're heavy favorites to get to the Super Bowl. So yeah, they absolutely have all the. I mean, 99.9% of the pressure is on them. Which, when that happens, Brock Purdy's eyes might get bigger.
Yeah. And I think that got to the Cowboys. I don't know. They just kind of look bad. But
I mean, if we're gonna go into that game, I mean, we can do it. But I think a lot more goes into that than just the Packers showing up and winning. I think what's his name threw the game. Dan Quinn.
I don't know.
I mean, I'm sorry.
You don't think LaFleur just drew up amazing plays and executed?
I'm not saying every play, but the one play down the right sideline where the guy was wide open. I mean, you could have fit a semi from the defender to the offense. You could have. I mean, come on. Either Dan Quinn knew that he was doing that and he had some coverage. I don't know, but that's what it looked like. I mean, some of those throws were just. I'm not going to say much more because I think Dallas threw that game. I really do. They gave up 50 points. That's hard to do in the playoffs when you have a stout defense. No? Is that not what we talked about the Cowboys all year?
Yeah, they supposedly had a pretty good defense. It got annihilated.
What the fuck? At home? 50 points? I mean, the Packers probably could have scored 60.
Yeah, but they took their starters out.
I'm just telling you, that's why I don't know. I mean, the Packers played great, and all credit to them. I'm not a Cowboy fan, and I hate the term America's team. So I was 100%. I loved it, all of it. I loved all of it. But I'm just telling you, something was fishy. I don't know.
I think when we talk about this game here, the Packers 49ers, I think the key for the Packers will be something that they've done a couple times this year, and they even did it last week. I think if you win the toss, you take the ball and you try to get the lead because it's the stats are out there. The Packers defense is significantly better when they're defending the pass rather than defending the run. So I think it's key for the Packers to get out and lead in this game. If they're trailing, it's going to be tough.
Yeah,
I don't know how I feel about the defense, but I'll say this. I've also been calling for Joe Barry to get fired all year. If the Packers win this game, they can extend Joe Barry. It doesn't matter to me. Just extend him. LaFleur has been calling.
He's LaFleur, huh?
He's been calling.
He's LaFleur. Look at these guys.
He's been calling some of the greatest games I've seen him call since he's been the head coach of the Packers.
So he's not a flop anymore.
He's not a flop no more.
What did I tell you about him last year? I told you he was a good coach. I like the guy. The guy got 9 wins out of a team that, in my eyes, probably could have won 5 or 6 games. I mean, did it not look like that for a while till they turned it around?
No, I thought that would. I mean,
they were 9-8. They were in the dumps.
We were 3-6.
I'm just telling you, LaFleur's a good coach. He's young. I think he should be the Packers coach for the next 20 years.
Yeah, he probably will be.
Okay,
if he keeps this up.
I mean, how many playoff appearances?
Every year but one. So I want to say 4 out of 5. I'm going to pick the Niners. Jake's going to pick the Niners, but I have a lot of faith that the Packers can go in there and win this game. Aaron Rodgers in his career against the Niners in the playoffs, 0-4. Every other Packers quarterback against the Niners in the playoffs, 4-1. So we'll see what happens with Love. And I just want to say this. Wouldn't it be something if the 3 teams that knock us out of the playoffs the last 3 years, we end up beating – if we somehow made it to the Super Bowl, we end up beating the Niners, we end up beating the Cowboys, or we end up beating the Lions or the Bucks. Each of these teams knocked us out of the playoffs. It'd be insane.
The run to the Super Bowl would be one of the better runs that I've seen in my life because you beat the 1, 2, and 3 seed on the road.
And I know people will say, well, next year the Packers should be lined up, to be at the top of the Super Bowl contenders. Well, here you are right now. The team's already there. I get it. They're young. Who cares? While you're there, do the most of it because these opportunities don't come very often. A lot of franchises never get these shots. So while you're there, make it happen. And I think if we win this game, I'll tell you, I think we can win the Super Bowl as it is now.
You go to Detroit? Will you go to the game?
No, I will not. I will. I'll probably be at work. But I think this is the year where say what you want. I picked the Packers to win the Super Bowl at the beginning of the year just because I wanted to make the bet. But I really do think the Packers have a legit shot at winning the Super Bowl. And I cannot wait for the game Saturday night. We'll move on to Sunday because we could talk about this for hours. The first game of Sunday, Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Lions. 2 quarterbacks who were written off. Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield. Baker looked very good. On Sunday night against the Eagles, and Jared Goff looked really good as well against the Rams on Sunday. So I think these are two quarterbacks who have been written off, got a chip on their shoulder. But that Lions game on Sunday was the fourth loudest game record ever in history for the NFL. So I think it's going to be super loud there. I think the Lions are going to be coming out, but I'm going to take the Bucs to win this game.
That was the first Lions playoff win since 1992.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's like 30-something years.
32 years.
Now you know who owns that record, right?
You guys?
The lead, yeah. Yeah. If it's just the pain and misery never ends. 2000 was the last time the Dolphins won, which now is the lead for the NFL in last playoff win, which, to be honest, in our lifetime, 2000 doesn't seem that long ago, right?
24 years? I don't know. That's pretty long.
Ago.
Yeah.
So
it's still before I was born.
Detroit, look, I think Detroit big. I think Detroit's good. I like this team. I like Dan Campbell. I just like that another team is finally getting to see what it's like.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? To see what it's like in the playoffs and win.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it's Detroit's time, right? I think Detroit wins. I think the Niners win. And I think we got a Lions-Niners game in San Francisco, and you never know.
Yeah.
I just think the Lions are really good.
I think the Bucs.
I don't think the Bucs can. But the Bucs didn't look bad last week either. I don't know. I mean, maybe this is a game that. I don't know. What do you think? I think the Lions win.
I think the Bucs win. I think it's going to be a close game.
You are picking the Bucs.
I'm taking the Bucs. I tell you what, if Todd Bowles does the exact same thing he did on defense as he did last week with the blitz, I think it's a great idea. Jalen Hurts could move. Jared Goff cannot move. He can't move. If you bring that blitz, I think they win. I think they got a good defense. They got two good wide receivers.
Goff's just going to get rid of the ball. He's just going to get rid of it.
Well, couldn't Jalen have done the same thing last week?
He could have, but I don't think Dan Campbell is stubborn as Nick Sirianni is.
Here's my thing. I wouldn't trust either one of these quarterbacks, to be honest with you. But I like Baker. You know I like Baker, so that's why I'm picking the Bucs. I think the Bucs have a good enough team to get it done against the Lions. And if I was a Bucs fan, I'd be happy because I'd much rather be playing the Lions than I would be a Packers fan playing the Niners. But I'm going to take the Bucs. Jake, you got the Lions. I think we got a really good set of 4 games this weekend.
Yeah, I think going to be really. I think good games. I don't know much about. I'm not sold on the Texans and Ravens. I think that game could get. If there was a game I would pick, it would either be that game to get ugly, or unfortunately, I would pick the Packers-Niners.
It could,
right?
They've had our number for years.
Out of all 4 games, those would be the 2 I would think could get ugly.
Yeah, they've had our number for years, so I can see that. And finally, Kansas City at Buffalo. Say what you want about Josh Allen not being able to beat Mahomes, but he's done it 3 times in the regular season. He's yet to do it in the playoffs. They've had some epic battles. I'm sure this will be another one Sunday night.
Look, the reason why this game is being played in Buffalo and not Kansas City is because of that bullshit guy that was offsides.
Well, he was offsides.
He was offsides. That's why that play is why they're playing in Buffalo and not Kansas City.
Yeah, well, that's that guy's fault. But Buffalo has been the hottest team next to the Packers for the last 6-7 weeks this season. I think this is the year Josh Allen finally beats Mahomes in the playoffs. But also, I'm going to say this. I think the NFL would like Taylor Swift and the Kansas City Chiefs to continue moving forward because more people will watch the games. More money. But if I'm strictly football, I think the Bills are the more complete team. I think Kansas City has a pretty good defense. If Josh Allen cannot make the bonehead throws that he sometimes makes, I think they win this game.
Look, the only reason why Kansas City has a chance in this game is because of Patrick Mahomes. There ain't much more to this team besides Pacheco, right? I mean, but I'm taking Kansas City. I cannot stand the Buffalo Bills. I cannot stand Josh Allen. And I think Patrick Mahomes is the better quarterback.
Well, I think that too, but I'm just saying I'm looking at a complete team. I'm looking at who's the hotter team coming in.
I think Buffalo's more of a complete team than Kansas City. but I think Patrick Mahomes has an edge over Josh Allen, and that's why I'll go with Kansas City. Now, with that being said, the game is in Buffalo. It's going to be freezing, which so is
Snowy.
Kansas City. Kansas City's not. It's not. It was colder in Kansas City than it was in Buffalo last week.
Yeah.
So they're not worried about the cold. But
I don't know. I think this is going to be a great game. It might be the best game of the weekend.
it might be the best game of the weekend.
I'm taking Buffalo, but isn't it cool to see though when you take a look at all these games, all these quarterbacks are under 30 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really cool. We got the new wave of quarterbacks coming in.
And if you go back to every team, the 14 teams that made the playoffs, they're all young. Dak Prescott, Tua.
Dak's like 32, 33.
No.
Yeah, Dak's 32.
Well, Tua's not.
I know Tua's younger.
Who were the other two teams that got eliminated?
Well, Joe Flacco's like 40, but
Yeah,
it would have
he's
been
old.
Watson. Well, I don't know. I'm not really sold on Deshaun
Dak
Watson.
Prescott's 30.
Okay. Yeah, so younger guy. I mean,
So
it's
yeah,
a new wave.
It's a new era of football.
Yeah, it's not your typical Breeze, Rodgers, Brady, Manning, other Manning some years.
Those guys have been gone for a couple of years now. But this is who it's going to be for the next couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of years, probably 10.
Yeah, probably 5 to 10, yeah.
So, I mean, you just got to get used to it. And if you're a Dolphins fan, you got to hope that Tua can elevate. He doesn't have to elevate to their level. He just has to elevate to a level good enough to win. Right? He don't have to do what these guys are doing.
No, he doesn't have to do what they have to do, but he has to do enough to keep the team in the game and hope they make one mistake.
Yeah, and that can happen.
I think the difference between Tua and the two guys in this matchup is that these guys can turn into absolute superstars, and I haven't seen that from Tua.
Well, you ain't going to see Tua running down 50. He can't do it.
As far as Jake, will go ahead. We'll do this right now. So I'm going to say my Super Bowl picks, no bias. My Super Bowl picks are going to be Buffalo against the 49ers in the Super Bowl. My sleeper picks for the Super Bowl are going to be the Packers against the Ravens. Now, I'm not saying the Ravens is a sleeper pick because they're the 1 seed, but that's another prediction I have.
I think the Ravens are going to get in from the AFC, and I think they're going to face the Niners. And I think it's going to be what a lot of people thought it was going to be 2 or 3 months ago, Ravens-Niners. I think sleepers coming out of the NFC, I would probably pick the Detroit Lions. I just like that team. I think I just like it because they're different. It's a different team, right? It's not the same team. Same teams, though. Like I'm rooting for Detroit. Like I'm rooting for them to get to the Super Bowl. And then out of the AFC, I mean, I don't know. Kansas City, are they a sleeper now?
I don't really think Kansas City.
mean,
I picked the Ravens though, so
I would pick Detroit and Kansas City as the two sleepers to come out. That would be a fun matchup.
Yeah, it's a repeat of the Week 1 game.
Yeah. Oh God, I forget that's what.
So I don't know. We got a lot of these good games coming forward, and I can't wait to end up seeing what the Super Bowl is. Somehow, some way, the NFL always manages to have a great season. Hopefully, we don't see some bullshit penalties.
You will,
but we will. That's true. We will. So I hope everybody enjoys the playoffs. Make sure to like, subscribe, leave any comments below. We'll try to do another video next week. Jake, anything else?
Nope.
Everybody have a good week.